Hey, my name's Nicky Slimting Walker. I'm a director, producer, and a writer.
Hey, my name is Femi Oyeniran. I'm an actor and a filmmaker. I suppose for me, it's just know your craft. A lot of young people want to do film. A lot of young people a lot of people enjoy watching film and TV, right? And because of that, a lot of people assume that they're experts at film and TV just because they've watched it their whole life, right? And so I feel like it limits people in that they think because I've watched it my whole life, I know how it comes to be. So I would say like actually study the craft, study how to make films. And then on top of that, like, learn the business. So learn the creativity, but even if you're not a numbers guy or or a law guy or whatever, but like learn the business. Like whatever you want to do in life, you need to understand the business because eventually you're going to grow older and you're going to want to, turn it into something that you live off. So when you're young, you can do it for no money, but as you get older, you're going to turn it into, you want to make money from it. And so you need to learn the business. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to figure out how to make money. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say also just like pick up your phone, technology today, you can shoot a short movie or a movie on your phone, just get around like-minded people and just try and be creative, just get out there shooting whatever you need to shoot. And come up with ideas and get your friends to be actors and acting it yourself and just start learning the craft. There's a lot of things on YouTube that can teach you. Get into college, just surround yourself with film, understand the business of it like Femi said, and focus on your craft. Make sure you know what you're doing and what stories you're trying to tell. And I think, yeah, anything's possible really. Inspired me, I grew up watching a lot of American films, a lot of the classics, The Boys in the Hood, The Menace to Societies. And I grew up on hip hop culture for me and seeing like the Rockefellers doing the Dame Dashes and the Paid in Fools and all those cult classic hip hop movies. For me, that inspired me because I saw black people like myself on TV and in films. I didn't really see that here in the UK. I saw it on a few shows like the Desmonds and the Real McCoy, but there was no real movies of that time. So for me, that really inspired me and made me feel like I want to get into filmmaking and I want to be a part of that industry. And then when I saw Kid Adulthood, I think Kid Adulthood for me, when I saw Femi in Kid Adulthood, I went to the cinema. It was like groundbreaking for me because it was the first film that I felt actually represented the culture. There was like young black guys on screen from the ends, just being young men, like growing up in the hood. And for me, that was like inspirational. And then the music, the soundtrack, I remember they had good songs in it. I think they had Power and they had like just records that was big in culture. And for me, that's when my real love was like, whoa, if these guys can do it, I can do it.
I suppose for me, I was inspired again, like Nicky, by hip hop culture because that's what I grew up in. I'm from Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria, lived there till I was 10. So that's inspirational to me. But on top of that, I'm also driven, like, coming here, I'm inspired by hip hop as well as grime. And so for me, grime culture and grime mentality is one of the things that help shape me because it's a mentality thing. It's a spirit. It's a vibe. It's a get up and go and do it yourself vibe. And that's what grime represents for me. And so for me, that really shaped what I felt I could achieve and my mentality. And then at the same time, I'm inspired by like stories, right? Because I watched a film the other day, yeah, about a heavy metal drummer going deaf, right? And how he copes with that. That's such a human story. Like, do you get what I'm saying? That's like anyone from anywhere on the planet could sympathize with that guy. Do you get what I'm saying? Imagine going from someone that can hear to go into like you can't hear no more and how you cope with that. And so for me, I'm inspired by like stories that are universal in that way. And like there's lots of different narratives. Even like, you take the narrative to Get Out and the fact that it's about the people want his eyes. They want to see the world through his lens. That's so universal, that concept. So it's taken a concept of race, but then couching it in this universal theme. And so for me, I feel like, I'm inspired by storytelling. I'm inspired by, being able to, the only things where other people can get a sense of how people that are not themselves feel are films, maybe TV, and books. So imagine the only way you can understand what life might be like for an 80-year-old man is from film, books, or TV. Because you're not an 80-year-old man like myself. Do you know what I mean? And so I just feel like the empathy that films allow us to achieve is the reason I do what I do, is the reason I'm driven to do what I do, and the reason I want to do more.
100%. I think that these stories need to be told. Our stories are not mainstream, you know, and it takes directors like myself and Femi and yourself who are pushing the boundaries and getting these stories told. You know, we're underrepresented, like in the world of film. You know, there's not many, especially in the UK. America's much ahead of us when it comes to film telling and storytelling, but I feel like there's universal stories, like Femi said, from Africa, from the Caribbean. These stories need to be told and they need to be put on the big screen. And I think people like us in those positions, people need to come to us, and it's our responsibility to tell those stories, you know. But I feel like filmmaking is a thing that I do it for enjoyment as well, and for people to escape. So every story we tell doesn't have to be a heavy story. It could be a fun story. It could be action-packed. It can be different. It's filmmaking, you know. I don't think we have to take the whole world on our shoulders and say we have to tell these black stories in this way. Because I like gangster films, you know. I love gangster films. They're like one of my best genres. I love watching them. But sometimes as a filmmaker, a black filmmaker, if I make gangster films, people may look at me and be like, why is he always making those kind of stories or those kind of films? But I just enjoy those films, and I should be able to express any kind of story I would like to express.
I suppose like Nicky said, taste is important. And like, you know, as you get older, you broaden your taste. You take someone like, let's talk about music, right? We'll talk about, take someone like Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z's first album, he was talking about being on the streets and all of that stuff. Jay-Z's last album, he was talking about like, you know, being a father, legacy, entrepreneurship, his relationship, his mother, his relationship with her partner, like so many different things. And so I suppose over time your taste evolves and the type of stories you want to tell evolve as well. And so I just think, you know, allowing for room for growth and stuff like that is really important as a filmmaker. And then at the same time, it's just being free to make what you want and express yourself is an important element of what we do, right? It's otherwise we could go get jobs in offices. Like, you know, we're smart guys. We can just go and get jobs and work, sit behind computers all day and work towards someone else's dream. So I think it's just striking a balance.
Yeah, so for me, I was in the grime scene. I was heavily involved as a promoter, DJ. I grew up in that scene, producing with my peers, you know. And for me, growing up in that industry, that gave me that independence, you know, how to be a hustler, you know, how to be an entrepreneur. And for me, like Femi said, grime is a massive part of our culture here. The lifestyle, the way we speak, the way we talk, the way we dress, you know. We had our first big stars from grime, Wiley, Dizzy. You know, if you want to talk before that, you had the Soul Solids, the Pay As You Goes, the Heartless Crews. And I feel like it's important for those stories to be told, you know. How hip hop is to America, grime is to us in the UK. And for me, coming from that scene and having the passion for it still and being a part of it, I just felt that we had to do something like that. It just made sense that people see the origin of how grime was birthed and where it's got today, because people know about Stormzy doing Glastonbury, but way before Stormzy, there were so many people before that who helped build the foundation, and he just took the baton and made it even bigger. And I think it's important that people see the history, and I think it's important that the history is told by people who were there and involved in it. And grime's a culture that they just don't let anybody come in and tell their stories. You have to really be a part of their culture and be organic to it. And for me and Femi were organic to it. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I've worked with you on projects earlier on in the day regarding the grime scene and stuff, and I just felt like it was a story that had to be told.
I suppose Against All Odds is inspired by the grime scene, is about the grime scene, and we wanted to do something that spoke to that audience, and we wanted to do something for online. We wanted to create like a long online short piece. because we'd never done that. So me and Nicky have always done like feature films, and they take 18 months to 2 years on average for us. For other people, they take longer. For other people, they take shorter. So if you're making a feature, like you're making something like The Intent or The Intent 2, or like It's a Lot, all of that, that's 6 years. Like literally from the time of, that's 6 years. You've got 3 projects in 6 years. And so we were like, why don't we make something really quick and for the online audience, so that we're constantly feeding our audience and like, almost create this online strand to the work that we do that's like almost like mixtapes. So you see artists, they bring out albums, but then there's mixtapes and there's collaborations. And so that was the like obviously the positioning rationale for
Films are albums and everything in between is our mixtape.
it's like our mixtape, like the music videos and all of that stuff. We really wanted to get involved in like doing lots more short form content, because it was important to create stuff in between that 2-year period, because we can't just come back to our audience every 2 years. Like, hey, what the guys from 2 years ago that gave you the Intent 2? We're back.
Move on so quickly. Like culture moves on so quickly with social media, Instagram and online. You have to just keep on creating, especially as directors and producers and content makers. That a film process every 2 years is too long for us. The reward's massive at the end of it, because we make something that's amazing, but we still want to be active in between those periods. So for us, doing stuff online, shooting music videos, making content for social media and stuff is a great place to fill the space, and it just keeps us consistent.
I think cinemas will come back, because the film industry, the bigger films, maybe not necessarily the films me and Nicky make at the moment, but the bigger like 100 million, 200 million pound films, they can't make their money back without cinemas. It's just the business doesn't work. The business model doesn't make sense. And so in terms of like, the film industry changing, I think in the next few years, like 2021, 2022, the film industry is going to be like, a lot of the content is going to go online. But in the long term, unless films are going to be made for cheaper, it's unsustainable for the industry on the like, big budget Marvel level, and even all the way down. And so for me, I feel like cinemas are not going anywhere, because it's a massive part of the film industry that still needs to exist. However, the online space is changing. I mean, you're going to get, in America, they've got loads of streaming platforms. And here we've got like, now we've got Disney, we've got Amazon, we've got Netflix, of course. You were like the first major beast in that market. But I feel like streaming is going to be very important. But it's just figuring out a way to monetize films that the industry needs to figure out in the next, 2021, 2022, because obviously there's a global pandemic, and until everyone, or like the majority of the populations all around the world, until they get the vaccine, you're not gonna get free movement of people to be able to gather in like cinemas and so on and so forth. So the industry needs to work it out. But I feel like streaming's important anyway, and it's only gonna become more important because of what's going on in the world.
And cinema also is an experience. We're all being locked up in our houses for like over a year. So people want to get out. When you watch a movie at home and you watch a movie in a cinema, it's a whole different experience, So I feel like people still want that cinema experience, and I think it's a massive part of cinema culture.
I mean, just to follow on for that, what social beings? Like, people, what's wrong with lockdown? Like really, honestly, if you break it down, what's wrong with lockdown? Most people can still work from home on laptops. Most people are spending a lot more time with their family than they usually do. Most people, like the main thing that's wrong with lockdown is because we can't socialize. So cinema's important, partying is important. Why do you need to go to parties to socialize with people or meet people when you can do it from the moment you wake up on social media? Because we're physical beings. We like interacting with human beings. Like we don't want it to be mediated through laptop screens and computer screens. So for me, I feel like, things like cinema, things like partying, like things like, festivals, like art galleries, theaters, all of those things, they're very important part of who we are as human beings, because we like to interact with other people and we like to get out of our house. So I'm gonna go through our films at the moment. So we've got a film that's like a girls trip type movie that we've been developing, and that's obviously not again, that's like a comedy. We've got a film, a predominantly music narrative that we're making that's gonna be set in Jamaica. Obviously, we've got the Intent 3, which is a gangster movie, like, or gangster thriller, whatever you want to call it. It's one of those types of movies. We've got, what else have we got? We've got Against All Odds, the TV series. That's not, again, that's just a predominantly music story. What else? We've got Minutes Before, which is about miscarriage of justice in America. And again, that's more of a drama. And so I think we've got an adventure film like that's going to be really special that we're really excited about. We're so excited about it that we just get overwhelmed thinking about it. But I'll be honest. For me, obviously, I don't know if I'm speaking for Nicky when I say this. For me, the most important thing for me as a filmmaker, as a director, at the moment, and this might change, and people need to allow me room for this to change, is to tell stories about the lived experiences of Black people globally. I repeat, the lived experiences of Black people globally. So like, I don't want to tell stories about Black people just in the hood in London. I want to tell stories about Black people in Jamaica, Black people in America, Black people in Africa and Nigeria, which is where I'm from. Mainly because, not even because I just want to tell stories about Black people, but mainly because I feel like there's still a massive gap in that market. Like, not enough is getting made about those experiences yet. And once we're able to make those stories, then like, you know, I want to do Marvel films. I want to do like, you know, Michael Bay type films where like we're blowing up houses and blowing up cars for the fun of it. But like for now, I just feel like, you know, I feel like I've still got a service to do in like telling a story of the lived experiences of Black people, and really local as well. So like when I tell a story about Jamaica, I want it to really feel like Jamaica. If it's in Nigeria, I want it to really feel like Nigeria. If it's in ends, I want people from ends to be like, yeah, this is really about ends, you know? I think there was a report the other day that showed that there was a regression in the entrance of, in opportunities for Black and ethnic minorities, people in TV in the UK. So it was worse last year than the year before, despite the BLM movement.
I think a lot of people are talking about diversity. There's a lot of talk. I get emails, diversity this, do you want to be on this panel? Do you want to be like, no, I don't want to be on no panels. Give me some money, let me shoot some movies and let's make a difference, you know? Like, let's stop talking. There's a lot of talk, and I think that's why me and Femi have that independent spirit. We do everything outside of the film industry. We're not in the film industry. Like, the film industry do not help us to make these movies. We're working completely outside of it, you know? And for us, it's just like, we're not gonna sit there waiting for somebody to dictate what stories we're gonna tell, or if we're good enough for them to give us money to make a film. We raise the money ourselves. We figure new models out. We make new blueprints. Like, we're just on it. And I feel like the industry is gonna have to catch up with us very soon, because it's changing, you know? Every day, look, we're here, there's a big set, big production, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're kicking down the doors. And I think it's very important that yourself and people like us support each other, and we back each other, and we support the movements, because if we're not together, it will never grow. You know, the whole reason why the drill scene and the grime scene and the UK rap scene is like killing the charts is because it's grown. They all work together and they all push forward. You know, if you look in the charts now, majority of the charts, in the top of the charts is rappers and drill artists and stuff like that. They've come a long, long way from when their tunes, we couldn't even get on MTV Base or be on any of those channels, you know? And to now be like running the charts and selling out the O2 and doing world tours, that's a massive achievement. And I feel like the film industry need to catch up. Otherwise, they're gonna get left behind, because technology is allowing us to go direct to consumer. You know, me and you can make a film and we can go direct to our audience online and sell to them. And sooner or later, TVs and that's not going to be relevant anymore because we're doing it direct.
No, I think you covered it. I think in terms of diversity, my response to the whole, like, you know, what's the industry doing, blah blah. I am the industry. I can't worry about what other people are doing. All I can do is worry about what I'm doing. What am I doing? What do I get up in the morning and I do? I get up in the morning, I talk to Nicky and we talk about making films. And we talk about creating and we create and we go out there and we create what we want to create and we find pockets and we find gaps that allow us to be able to express ourselves. And so that's all I can worry about. I can't worry about, oh, BBC didn't meet this quote or ITV channel. That's for other people. That's not for me. Like, that's not my whole life has been one of like getting what I want, how I want it, like type of thing. And so, and that's that within the obviously the confines of the law. Like I'm not like, I've never done anything illegal to get where I am. Like I'm literally working hard and being committed to get what I want in the right way. And so I can't worry about diversity quotas. I can't worry about all of that. And I feel like anyone else that is, I feel like you're wasting your energy and you're wasting your time because you shouldn't be trying to persuade people to allow you to do what you want to do. You should just get up and get it.
And if we're going to change diversity, let's change it in the boardrooms, you know, let's give people jobs and opportunities of power, you know. A lot of times when I go to a lot of these companies and stuff, I'm speaking to people who have no power and they can't give me the money or they can't put my program on TV because they need to ask 10 other people. So if we want to start changing diversity, put people of color in those rooms who understand the culture as well, because a lot of times I'm going into meetings and I'm speaking about the culture, but that person's not from the culture. They don't understand it. They don't get it. They don't understand the food that I'm eating or the places that I want to hang out in and stuff. So how can I sell something to somebody who's not even from the culture, who don't understand the culture? So we need to make a massive difference in like who we're putting in those rooms.
Just keep going, man. Keep going. I think it's been a tough global pandemic. Like it's gonna be a tough few years afterwards. But I think the main thing is like you get up in the morning, go. Whatever your dream is, chase it. If you're in education, chase that. If you're like working, like, you know, be fully committed. And if you have a vision, just it's small steps. This is the thing. I feel like it's hard to explain to young people because I remember being young and I remember wanting everything now. And I still do. I want everything now. I want it today. Like, you know, I want to be in Hollywood today. Like, but I can't even catch a plane to America, right? You know what I mean? But I want everything now. Like, I'm the same. And that's the mentality. But I just feel like you have to realize, you know what, as you get older, or as I get older, I realize that actually the sum of your work is what matters. So each day you do a little bit, you go to bed, you're tired, you wake up the next day, you do a little bit, and then you look back a year later, a month later, 2 years later, and you're like, raw, I did all of that. So I feel like it's really important to just keep going and realize that it's a marathon, not a sprint. That's what I would say to young people watching this.
And I'd also, to add to that, I would say feed your mind, you know. For me, every day I'm learning, I'm like a sponge, I soak things up. I study the people that I admire and I religiously watch things, read books, listen to podcasts, you know, like you find there's so much information out there, you know, soak up the information and surround yourself with that information and it will inspire you, you know. You hear some of the great people's stories, some of the great, they've worked so hard, like it's not an overnight success, you know, nothing comes that quick. And sometimes it does, but for the majority of people, it's years and years of dedication. It's not easy, you know, when you look at some of the actors and the filmmakers and the writers and the musicians or the sports people, they've worked hard. When I watched the Jordan documentary, that changed my life. And I'm not a sports person, but it made me realize how harder I have to go as a person, as a human being, you know. You can't make excuses. You got to keep going, even in the times of COVID. Like, just wake up and, you know, write a plan, put things on paper and get to your destination, you know, and start ticking things off. Like, me and him are on Zoom calls and like, we're on there for 3-4 hours coming up with ideas and we're like, you know what, half an hour break, yeah, or should we come back in 2 hours? We come back, or we come back the next day. We're continuously pushing ourselves, pushing each other. You have to push, otherwise nothing's going to be given to you.
I think it's important to surround yourself with like-minded people as well, though. So like if you want to achieve a dream, like, you know, surround yourself with people that are on the same path, because that will help you get there quicker, because they will challenge you. You know what they say, iron sharpens iron. So I feel like you really need to surround yourself with like-minded people. You need to surround yourself with people that are on the same path. I think that's so important. Like, you know, if you want to be a filmmaker and you don't know any filmmakers, that's problematic. And so I feel just plug into the right people. Massive shout out to Inside Success. Make sure you subscribe. Boom.
Make sure you subscribe to Inside Success now, people.